a lot of our listeners may not know, but you come from a show business family. Your father is the late, great, really great, and brilliant character actor Jesse White. Best known probably to audiences as the Maytag Man, but he really does have a great career in television.
Television? Actually, he started on Broadway. He did many plays, successful plays on Broadway, and in fact started his Hollywood career. They play called Harvey about the invisible rabbit, and that ran on Broadway for 4 years. And when they made it into a movie, they decided to use Jimmy Stewart as Harvey's pal, and they brought my dad out from Broadway to recreate his Broadway role in the film. And he went under contract with Universal and did many, many wonderful pictures with big, big stars, Gregory Peck and Esther Williams and William Holden and Robert Mitchum, and just, I could go on. He had a wonderful, wonderful career. And then, actors, it's funny. We work and then we don't work. And it's the curse of all actors. We finish a great job. The first thing we think is, I'll never work again. That's all actors. We think we'll never work again. And then the phone rings and the agent says they want you, and we're off to the races again. But with my dad, he was also, before he came to Hollywood, he was in early television, the beginnings of television that came out of New York, and they weren't taped. They were taped, and today they're on something called kinescopes. That's what they saved these things on. Anyway, so he started in television. He was on 2 series at the same time. One with Ann Southern called Private Secretary, where he played a character named K.G. Calhoun. That was for 5 or 6 years. And then he was on a show with Danny Thomas called Make Room for Daddy, and that ran for 5 or 6 years. So he was playing 2 different characters on TV at the same time. And then in the 60s, Stan Freberg, a brilliant comedy mind, started creating funny comedy commercials. And who does he call? First, my dad. So my dad started doing commercials, and he was one of the first popular actors to start doing comedy commercials. And first it was with Stan for Chungking Chow Mein, and I can't remember. It was when I was a little girl, so I can hardly remember. But then he went with Maytag, and he was with Maytag as the original lonely Maytag repairman for 25 years. And that's where today's audiences mostly know him from.
But, his, in my opinion, his comedic timing and your own are, again, in my own opinion, perfect, which is really rare, I think, that you can find that natural talent. What did you take from him? Or, did he, what was his feelings about you wanting to become an actress?
I wanted to become an actress when I was about, 6 years old, I'd say. I made my decision because he took me to the set one day at the Danny Thomas show, and there were kids on the show. Angela Cartwright was on, and Rusty Hamer and Sherry Jackson. They were 3 kids, and oh, my God, my dad was having so much fun with them. I said, hey, I want to do that. And he'd say, no, you got to wait till you're 7. And then I'd be 7. He said, no, wait till you're 8. And so I started doing Sunday school plays in high school. When I was in the 6th grade, I wasn't very popular, to tell you the truth. And I always wanted to go to the boy-girl parties. And I remember I went to my first party, and all the girls were talking, the popular girls were talking in the bathroom, and I wanted to come in and talk with them. And one of the girls said, oh, let Carole come in. She's funny. Bing, bong, the little light bulb lit up. oh, I'm funny. Okay, that's my ticket to the party. I'm funny. And then it just was kind of a natural thing with me. I guess I'm just sort of funny. I can't really explain it, but
what advice did you take from your dad?
He said, always be yourself. Just be professional, show up on time, know your lines, and always let them say, "Oh, that Carole White, she's a nice girl." He just wanted me to be myself, and that I'd get where I'm going best by just being myself, and that's the advice I took from him, and I'm grateful for it. And I guess just being around him and seeing his humor. We'd be sitting at the dinner table, and so funny. He'd say, "Could you pass the ketchup?" And he'd say, "That reminds me. I saw an old man today, and he'd start telling the story, and me and my sister, we were just little children, and we'd be looking at him, not realizing he was telling a joke. We're looking and listening like he's really telling us something. Then he'd give the punchline. We'd be staring at him like, what the heck just happened? And he'll say, I say, well, we wouldn't really realize he was telling a joke, but he was always giving a story, a joke. I guess that's where I got it. That's where I got it from him.
I can see it. You've had a very successful career on that, and something I'm sure that he was very proud of, and you can be very proud of.
Thank you, honey, and he was very proud of me, I'm happy to say. Yeah.
Good. What is your favorite thing about acting, and what is your least favorite thing about acting?
Well, my favorite thing is, I suppose, really delving into human behavior. I truly believe that artists are the leaders of society. Now, you might say, well, Big Rosie, what kind of leader was she? But in that case, I hope I gave people laughter. And that is so important in this very serious world we live in, and troubled world. But my favorite part of acting is creating the character, rehearsing, working with other fine actors, directors. Not all. Every job we do isn't Academy Award-winning material, but actors have to work. We do the best we can with the material they're given. I just love it. I love the art of acting. And my least favorite thing is the long time, occasionally between jobs, when, negative people on the set, and, there's negativity everywhere. Someone will walk up to you and say, "Oh, is that what you're wearing in the scene?" And then all of a sudden you can't remember lines, and you start getting a cold. So I've learned how to protect my talent on the set, and when I sniff negativity around or any kind of jealousy that goes on, I say thank you for sharing, and then I hightail it away. So negativity in the business, about the business, and I don't really like paparazzi, because I'm one of these people who goes out in their trench coat, and underneath are my pajamas, and sometimes I have to run to get milk, and if I see someone with a camera, it's torture.
What advice would you give to young and even older, beginning in the business or who have been in this business and just feel like
giving
up?
They're
wanting to give up. It is a very, very cutthroat business, and what you have just said is really just you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. A very wise teacher mentor said to me, Richard Lawson is my current mentor that I'm working with. he says dreams do not have an expiration date.
Oh, I love it.
Right? And when you decide what you want to do, you just take the steps to get there. And it involves going to class, getting in with good actors, getting in with a teacher who applauds your minor victories, who applauds growth and is not there to tear you down, because that's what the business does. You know, there's so much rejection in the business. I say get with a supportive community where you can act in theater. And you know what? You don't have to act professionally. There's wonderful regional theater, small theater. And acting is acting, and the joy is there whether you're getting paid for it or not. Look, I do these web series. I love them, working with especially young artists, directors, writers, actors. They're full of enthusiasm, and that's who you want to surround yourself with, people who support your dreams, people who say, go for it, because everyone says, oh, it's so hard. Oh, what are you doing? Are you making any money? You have to salute those people and say, be supportive or stay out of my way. You know, I can't take the. I got to surround myself with positive people who support your dreams. And like I said, there's no expiration date on dreams. If you want to be an actor, find a group, read plays, put them up. There's so much joy in it. So much joy.
There is. Carole, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of your stories and your wisdom with us. Again, I've been a fan since the 70s. And you have brought me great joy and laughter, and doubled over laughter, and I always believe it's the cure for everything, in my opinion.
That's it. Laughter is very healing.
So,
and I want to thank Tammy for having me on your show. I wish you continued success, and follow your dreams, kid.